Lee Summit is your destination for big city vibes and small town charm.
Head to the downtown Lee Summit Farmers Market, where
Lee Summit is your destination for big city vibes and small town charm.
Head to the downtown Lee Summit Farmers Market, where local meets fresh. Then grab a cup of coffee and discover a variety of shops and boutiques just around the corner. Continue the fun in downtown Lee Summit at a retro arcade bar. Discover your new beer at one of our 6 locally owned breweries. Cool off with some handcrafted cocktails at happy hour. End the night with live music and good company. Lee Summit, Missouri.
Hello, Lee Summit. I'm Laura, and this is your flash briefing for the week of January 13th. City Council will hold a joint session Tuesday night with the Lee Summit Parks and Recreation Board at 6 p.m. and council chambers at City Hall. The meeting is open to the public or watch live on the city's YouTube channel. If you can't watch, catch the recorded meeting on demand on the YouTube channel or by subscribing to the Council Debrief newsletter, which breaks down 3 to 4 key agenda items. Subscribe at cityofls.net. It sure is cold outside. Be sure to protect your pipes by doing these 4 simple tasks. Disconnect hoses from outside spigots, leave cabinet doors open for warm air circulation, let water trickle to keep it flowing, and insulate pipes and faucets in unheated areas. Find more winterization tips at lswater.net. Stay safe and informed with LS Aware, the city's free alert system designed to keep residents and businesses informed of emergencies such as winter events, road closures, and certain non-emergency events. The city can quickly send messages via phone, text, or email depending on the preference set up by the user. Users choose how to be notified and what information they wish to receive. Sign up at lsaware.net. The city is hiring. Join our team at the City of Lee Summit. The city offers rewarding career opportunities, a positive environment, and fantastic benefits. View these opportunities at lspeople.net. A reminder, city facilities will be closed on Monday, January 20th. Thanks for listening and have a great week.
Welcome to the Lee Summit Sign Department. We are going to walk you through our process from start to finish. We make signs as needed here. It's not like we just go out into the field and place a speed limit sign here, no parking here. Our traffic engineers, they go through and they'll do field studies. They'll send us down an engineering work order for us to go out, place new signs or remove signs as needed. Coming from the material, our blanks come in and they're just aluminum blanks. We can put our white, our red, our fluorescent yellow, green, whatever. And basically what it looks like is just that there. Throw it up into the roller. And once we got it covered, take it to our work table here, and Tim will cut the corners, cut all the access off to where it's lined up right. As far as the plotter and the software that we use, there's a street name sign there, and he's gonna go ahead and print that out on the plotter so you can see the plotter and how it operates and runs. There's standards for the height, even just on letters on the sign blank. Basically what we have on the computer there is it's pretty much set up to those. And it goes through, it's got a very small but sharp needle that goes through and cuts everything out, letter by letter. Once that's done cutting, our next stage would be bringing it over here. Currently picking out the sign letters right now. We call it weeding or picking or however you want to call it. Next, putting it on the transfer tape. Then after it's taped, we bring it over to the roller. That's where we apply it to the actual sign blank. And we'll roll it through one time just to get the air bubbles out. And the last stage is basically just taking the transfer tape off the front of it. And there's a finished product of the street name sign. We'll take you out to the field and show you our process that we go through. We're gonna go out and follow our sign guys, get something installed for you. This is where we check our underground utilities. Tim, you got AT&T?
AT&T's back here.
Evergy, Google, so we should be good to go. We normally put all of our stuff together out in the field. Then once the base is installed, we'll go ahead and put the post in there. We've come up to perfect. And that's how we do it. Simple, quick.
Have you ever been driving around Lee Summit and wondered what's that going to be? What's being built there? Wow, that went up fast. The Development Minute is here to help, highlighting some of the newest projects in Lee Summit, Missouri.
Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen is coming to the former Lion's Choice at Summit Orchards. The fast food chain known for its fried chicken and spicy chicken sandwiches is scheduled to open in early 2025. Local authentic Mexican restaurant El Toro Loco is coming to Summit Woods Crossing Shopping Center. The restaurant will occupy the former On the Border location and offer dishes like street tacos, enchiladas, and fajitas. El Toro Loco will be opening in early 2025. Pho Noodle Go had a soft opening where the former Pepper Jack's Grill was located in Summit Woods Crossing. The establishment is currently serving a selection of pho noodle soups, appetizers, and daily specials. Pho Noodle Go will fully open in 2025. The Quick Trip located at 1001 Southwest Blue Parkway has begun its redevelopment. The squeaky clean car wash is being demolished to accommodate a new 5,300 square foot QT building and a planned phased rebuild. The current location will remain open during construction. The new QT will open in 2025. Discovery Park, the 3.9 million square foot mixed-use project located off of Northwest Colburn Road and Northeast Douglas Street, is underway, and its first phase, The Village, is being graded. Town Place Suites Hotel by Marriott will be one of the first builds coming to the Village. The hotel will feature spacious rooms with amenities including full kitchens.
That's it for the Development Minute. For more about upcoming projects, visit cityofls.net.
Councilmember Hodges.
Thank you. I love where you guys are coming from. You're local and you're all kind of coming together. But where I'm struggling with from the last time that we talked about this, I think it was maybe October.
I actually grew up in my district. We moved here my sophomore year in high school. My parents still live in the same house, and I just went through high school here and then have stayed in Lee Summit ever since. The neighborhood that my parents live in is Canterbury. My favorite thing, and I still do to this day, is I love to go running. They have the best sidewalks. I feel like you can go for days. So now I still get to do that. Since I live not too far from them, I get to use those same routes that I took during high school, and it's just fun. All right, let's see it, Jess. Come on. We're a big soccer family. I love sports, I love to watch sports, and it's even more fun to watch sports when my kids are in it. I coach my middle daughter Josie's team. I have since kindergarten. We do the basketball, we do softball, we're gonna do volleyball in our city.
Open the public hearing on the matter of K1 Speed, Diventures,
Crack Shack, Blue Jeans Golf.
Councilmember Hodges.
I just want to say thank you for bringing us to Lee Summit. I grew up at this. My grandpa took us there, so I'm excited that now I can take my kids there.
Bill number 23-0, pre-construction services for the Downtown Market Plaza project.
I'm just as excited as everybody else about the downtown marketplace. I'm extremely excited about the community that it's going to bring, bringing more family things to do to the city and right in the heart of it.
When you presented the numbers, the first time you came to us, it was 25.5%, and then a lot of...
You know, people were like, oh, you know, being on council, it's not a lot of work, not a lot of... I think it was a bit of a surprise when there's so much info that you realize you just don't know. Even something as simple as sidewalks. It's like you don't realize how much goes into something like that. After a couple months, I'm like, okay, I'm finally, you know, catching the groove of how things work, learning new things, but also feel like I've got some things under my belt as well. It's been a great experience so far.
Call to order this meeting of the Rules Committee for Lee Summit City Council for January the 16th. Can we get a roll call, please?
Chairperson Shields.
Here.
Councilmember Carlisle. I understand she's absent, so I'll put her at absent. Councilmember Hodges.
Here.
Councilmember Rader.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. Thank you guys so much for joining today. So next item is approval of the agenda. I would look for a motion, please.
Chair,
Yes.
I move for the approval of the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Hodges, second by Councilmember Rader to approve the agenda. Can we get a vote, please?
Councilmember Rader.
Aye.
Councilmember Hodges.
Aye.
Chairperson Shields.
Aye.
And then
All right.
Councilmember Carlisle absent.
Next on our agenda is public comments. Did we have any comments submitted in advance or anyone wanting to comment today?
Not that I'm aware of.
Correct.
Right.
Nothing I've heard of either.
Okay, then we will move straight into business. First item on our business agenda is approval of the action letter for December 19th, 2024, item 2025-6705. Unless we have any discussion, I would look for a motion.
Chair,
Yes.
I move for the approval of the action letter for December 19th, 2024 Rules Committee meeting.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Hodges, second by Councilmember Rader to approve the action letter. Can we get a vote, please?
Chairperson Shields.
Aye.
Councilmember Rader.
Aye.
Councilmember Hodges.
Aye.
Okay, that is approved. Next item, getting into the meat of our agenda, is a discussion item on the Charter Review Commission process. So Mr. Head, I think we had put this on the agenda, had to continue it from our last meeting, but we just wanted to kind of start the discussion since that charter review process will be coming up before too long to kind of talk about what that is, how the members of that commission are typically selected, and then see what kind of a process we want to put in place for the next round. So if you could kind of lead us off, that would be great.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So the last time we did this was in 2016. Actually, the resolution that that set forth the procedure was passed in November of 2015. And then, so like this year, we're a little ahead of the game, but it really doesn't matter exactly when we do it. If we have a lull, it's a good thing to go ahead and move forward. And the way it worked previously was we had a 12-member commission, and they were a member nominated had to be a qualified voter of the city at the time of appointment. No member nominated could be an elected official of the city, so no standing council members or judges, or I guess those are the only, or mayors. Those are our only elected officials. Each council member was to nominate one person residing with within their district to serve. And then the two council members representing each district got together and represented another. So you would have 3 people put into nomination from each district. So it gave you 4 districts, 3 each district gives you your 12. The mayor does not have an appointment in this generally. If you're not able, we even add in here, if you weren't able to agree on the appointment of that one person, then the council basically would get to choose. And we had a deadline as for how that would work. And the timeline for this was, we went through this appointment process, set up how we were going to do it, and this was in November. And then in December, the council actually created the commission and named the commissioners. And then in late January, so that would have been in 2016, the commission started meeting. And they met, I think, once a month for the first few months. And then we met a little more as they were finishing things up. They did break into a couple of subcommittees during that time period. And then sometime in the fall, and I don't remember the exact date on this, the commission brought forward all of their recommendations to the city council. We then worked through those with the council, figured out which ones could be in what ballot issues, how many ballot issues we would end up having. And the council ultimately placed those on the ballot by the end of January of 2017. So then they would be on the election for April of 2017. So that's kind of the general
2018, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's right.
The timing gets strung out so long that it's hard to remember which year you're in at that point. But it'll work similar to this. By the fall of this year, the council will need to appoint that commission. And then in the early winter or midwinter next year, so we're 2026, we will start, the commission will start its work. They'll work up through probably August or September, something like that. They'll submit their information to the city council. We'll then get direction from city council on ballots and which issues well, the council actually doesn't have a choice as to what ballot issues that they are going to put on. The council in this does not have discretion. Once under the Constitution, if the Charter Commission says we're submitting a question on this, then ultimately it's sort of a ministerial duty of the council to place it on. We had a lot of discussion about that last time, so we did a lot of work on the law on that last time. I remember that pretty specifically. So your election will be for items of amendments to the charter. Charter changes would be in April of 2017 would be the time that we would have those in front of the voters. The council would be required to submit those by, it's usually right at the end of January, like the 26th or 27th, somewhere right in there. I don't have that calendar in front of me for 2017, but it's usually right at the end of January.
Okay, so I think we're kind of flipping back and forth between what happened last time, what happens this time. So the years are getting a little screwy, but so I understand the recommendation would be the end of this year, we establish a process and appoint members. All next year, 2026, the commission would meet. And then in 2027, we would approve the ballot language and it would get voted on April of 2027. Is that right?
Yeah, and hopefully the ballot language will be fairly simple. We can finish it up probably in 2026 so that we can get it certified and done in plenty of time and not push right up to the last day. I hate doing that with elections because, if you find any little error, you can go back and correct it. If you find it before
on the ballot, your
certification date,
have a problem. Yeah.
Chair?
Yes, Councilmember Rader.
You said 27, but I thought it was an election year.
No,
It
it's
had to be-
an off.
It's an off year? It's an off year, okay.
Okay.
So it's not
That's
April
a good
26th,
question.
it's April 27.
Right,
April
because they-
27.
Okay.
They would meet, they're going to meet all year during 2026. It
Six,
takes
okay.
a while to go through all this, and then in
Gotcha.
2027, it would go to the voters.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And there's a proposed timeline included in the packet that you can look at when you have a chance as well. Mr. Head, so as I understand it, the process that was used last time, that's not established by statute or the charter. That's just something that was established by the council. What does the statute or charter provide are the requirements for this commission? And then we can kind of decide if we want to keep the same process or what else we could do that would be in compliance.
I believe that the requirement is only that, so it's found in section 14.8. I don't have that electronically right in front of me to put up for you, but it just says from time to time, but no less than every 10 years, the council shall provide for a charter review commission to review this charter and to recommend to the voters of the city proposed amendments, if any, to the charter. The members of the charter review shall be selected as provided by the council. So there's your, however you choose to create that process. The Charter Review Commission shall consist of at least 8 qualified voters of the city, none of whom shall be an elected official of the city. No more than 30% of the commission members shall reside in any one council district. The Charter Review Commission shall, within 12 months of its first meeting, report to the voters as many amendments to the charter as it shall deem advisable.
Okay. So there's a fairly broad latitude, but a certain requirement for district representation.
Yes, and it does require, you can't have half of the membership be from one district. It requires that 30%. So I think the decision was made a long time ago. 4 districts, 3 each, have 12. And if you start going to an odd number, unless you get a really large commission, then you're going to have one district that has more than 30%.
Okay, that's really helpful in understanding the thought process behind that process. Do we have any questions or discussion from the committee? Obviously, we're not in a huge hurry on this. We have time to think about it, but any initial questions or thoughts?
Chair, I have one.
Yes, please.
So when we pick our people from our district, our 3 people, and we have, as elected officials, we have comments or concerns on the charter. Do we just work through those people as far as like having those conversations? We can have those conversations, right? You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, and in fact, during the last charter commission, I know that Councilmember Johnson actually came and, I'll say testified, talked about one of the concerns he had about the charter, and it had to do with districts and like size of districts, and he wanted to expand the council and some things like that. He actually came and talked to them about that. You all are still citizens. You have the right to participate in the charter review process, but only as a citizen. You don't get any special benefit of being a council member in that you are a citizen.
Great. Thank you. Thanks,
Yeah,
Chair.
thank you. That's a good question. Councilmember Hodges, do you have any questions or comments at this point?
No, I think I'm good with this. All sounds great to me.
Yeah, I think it sounds like a good process to ensure a good way to ensure representation across the districts like is required, and a good way to kind of come to consensus on some good folks. So I feel like the committee is probably going to recommend to keep that same process. Mr. Head, do you, since we're, like you say, kind of ahead of the game, should we kind of table this and bring it back this fall, or should we send it to the council earlier? I mean, obviously we've got pretty packed agendas in February and March, so there's no rush, but.
The one thing that I think probably we want to do a little slightly different in this is to set, if we're going to do it early, I'll put it this way, we want to do it early. We need to have some sort of deadline for the council to submit their names. So that way, you know, we can all calendar it, know when that is, you know, that the council shall submit those individuals to you know, for inclusion by no later than whatever date, like November 1st or October 1st or whatever that date is.
Okay. I think that makes sense. Unless anyone disagrees, I think what would make sense would be for Mr. Head, for you to kind of work up some proposed language with deadlines, how you think makes sense for it to read, but with a similar process to last time. And then we could try to bring it before council maybe in April or May, because I think if we all have time to discuss it and agree to a process, and that's figured out a few months before that deadline, that would give time for folks to kind of reach out to people that they think would be good and see their level of interest and not feel rushed in making those decisions. So I think there's no reason not to kind of put that in place earlier than later. Any objection from the committee? Okay.
No, I'm good.
Okay, does that...
Sorry.
Go ahead, Brian.
Just one other comment. It's also an opportunity. I don't know if in the past we've had council members that have had the district forums. And if there are council members that are going to be doing district forums, you know, from now through July or August or something, it'd be a great opportunity for you to put word out and have people that would be interested in serving on the commission maybe approach you too. I mean, you as an individual council member get to make your selection however you want. Realistically, this doesn't tell you how you have to do that. So if you want to have a very wide open process, you can. If you just want to do it based upon, well, I know a couple of people who would really be good, and I think that's who we should have, that's fine too. It's sort of up to you individually how you want to conduct that.
Sure. Do you and this is probably a question for the committee members, should we maybe have an application on the city website, like in the boards and commissions section, so that if someone's interested in this who we don't personally know, that they could submit an interest form, and then staff could verify based on their address what district they are and send their interest to the appropriate council members to look at? Just a thought on kind of making it open.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that. And I think it's just another way to open the door, and just people, like you said, we haven't met. Maybe there's people that are like, man, they're a great addition to their input and stuff. So I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I think that'd be great to also have a chance to gather a little bit of information about their interest and their experience. Yeah, so maybe can we include something like that? I mean, obviously, it would still be at the discretion of the council members, but just a way to get that interest to people, and then we can have it kind of publicized through the city website.
We absolutely can do that. In fact, we can use the regular board and commission application and just add another checkbox, because I think it's checkboxes right now for like which ones you want to serve on. We can add Charter Review Commission to that, and then in the why do you want to be considered for this? You know, they can put their reason.
Yep, and then I think a lot of folks don't necessarily know what district they're in. So even though I think those forms do ask people, like, just be good to have kind of a second thing to, you know, enter your voting address, and then staff can double check what district it should go to.
Yeah.
Because I understand the average person doesn't know their council member, which is understandable. People have lives, so. All right, I think that's great. So you have enough direction from us to kind of start working on a process?
Yep,
okay.
I can take what we used last time and modify it, add a little bit more detail to it, a few more lines, and we'll bring it back for next time.
Okay, sounds great. All right then. Any other comments from the committee before we move on?
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Then next item on our agenda is TMP 3333, an ordinance amending Article 1 in general of Chapter 10 Emergency and Disaster Planning in response to the Code of Ordinances of the City of Lee Summit, Missouri, by enacting a new Section 10-11, Continuity of Government, Mayoral Succession, dealing generally with the rules for the succession of mayoral power in the event of absence or disability. So we had continued this from last time, and this had been sent back to us by council for some additional discussion. Mr. Head, do you want to lead off on this again? I think the members of the committee are kind of familiar with where we're at on this.
Where we were is it had gone to city council with basically a seniority-based model. Whoever on the council had seniority, and then next and next and next and so forth. That was how the acting mayor would fall once the mayor and the mayor pro tem were unavailable. You got some feedback from maybe the mayor and maybe one or two other council members that they wanted to see something more akin to maybe a process that followed the chairs of committees. But I don't know that, I didn't get a sense there was a consensus necessarily from the council on that. So I think it was sent back mostly for you all to discuss how you'd like to do it. I did pull up one of the previous, see if I can find it again. One of the previous documents that we had, and when we changed everything out to send it to council, I lost those links within Legistar, unfortunately. But I know Overland Park, Kansas had a system that was like that. It was the mayor, well, it was the chairman of the council, I think is our president of the council. And then it was the committee chair, the chairs of committees in the following order. And then it just listed them, you know, works, whatever is the way it worked.
Okay. So I know we kind of already discussed all this and come to a consensus on it. I understand, you know, as was mentioned, this was sent back to us for further discussion. In my mind, if we were to offer a new recommendation, following the chairs of committees, maybe starting with Public Works, since this, you know, when this is really going to be an issue is in, you know, a natural disaster and infrastructure. And I don't know if that totally makes the most sense, but I think something like Public Works, Finance and Budget, CEDC, Rules, Legislative, something like that. It doesn't have to be that order, but we could go that route. Again, as I kind of said when we had this at full council, to me the most important thing is just having a process in place so that if we have an emergency, there's no question, there's no legal wrangling, there's no, you know, wasting time debating. There's just the opportunity to have someone step in and be able to provide that leadership, sign whatever declarations are needed in the event that we had an emergency. So I'm really flexible on how this is done, but that's one way we could structure it. Do we have discussion, comments from the committee? Yes, Councilmember Hodges.
So I think my only concern, I think I voiced this last time we discussed it. I mean, in the end, I'm okay whatever direction we want to go, but I think my only concern is the thought of I don't feel like we technically have a consistent appointment to, or some system for the mayor pro tem to appoint specific people at certain times in their term to board as a chair or vice chair or whatever of committees. So I guess my only concern, and where I'm getting at with that, is that say if we do the Public Works and it's a new council members, it's their second year and they're chair of Public Works, but yet say someone like you who's been on there you're on your second term, in my head I'm thinking I would want you to be in charge. So that's my only struggle, is because why I do really like the seniority, just because they have more experience and I also get, again, I said I'll be fine with you, so I'm not going to fight this, but I want it to make more sense, I guess, as to, I don't want people to, all of a sudden it creates animosity on a council because they're like, I've been on for, you know, say 7 years, and somebody who's year number 2, you know, they're still, I mean, I can speak from when I was on year 2, I was still learning a lot and still am. So I don't know, I guess I want to make sure that we're confident that no matter who's in the chair, that we choose to be the first option. And I know this is far-fetched to even happen anyways, but I just want to make sure, like you're saying, to cut out any possible, you know, confusion or people like, really? That's, you know, and so I don't know. That's my only drawback to not going with seniority.
Okay. And Councilmember Rader, you go ahead, please.
I made that face. Thank you.
No, I could tell you wanted to say something, please.
Well, first of all, I agree completely with Councilmember Hodges on this, but I just do want to say this. I was I don't know why the mayor brought it back to us. Did he convey to you or to Mr. Head or anyone of his concern if it was I mean, I think having the most experienced person is a wise decision because they're the most experienced, and it could be a disaster like we never saw, right? So again, as Councilman Hodges said, it's just like if you had somebody that's only been here a year or something and they don't have the experience, I would think that we would naturally want someone that had that experience. But I'm just curious if any conversation was had as to why the mayor brought that back for us to review again. What was his concern?
And I felt like from the discussion, part of it was that, well, for one thing, there's usually like a four-way tie for experience, and then just having it determined by who happens to have the last name first in the alphabet also seems kind of random. And that these committees are, I mean, yeah, there's not a standard set process, but generally, especially for what I'd call sort of the main committees, CEDC, Public Works, Finance and Budget, generally there's a thought process that the person who's chairing that committee is an experienced council member. They don't usually put someone into that role who is on their first or second year of council. So I think the thought was that whoever is chairing those committees generally has been vetted by the council or by the leadership. And I understand that the mayor pro tem kind of makes those appointments. But I think that was the thought process. And again, I'm okay with different processes. I think kind of going back, Councilmember Hodges, to your point that you don't want a bunch of arguing. I think that's why it's important that we have a process in place so that it's not like, well, this person was just drawn out of a hat. Here's, a prior council put this ordinance in place. And that's the reasoning. So,
well, what if we put something in there, which is kind of a hybrid, and it was something like, okay, it would be the most experienced person that was on the council, or if you're saying that Public Works, which right now Mia is on Public Works and she's our chair, she's not the most experienced council member on there as far as tenure, her time on council. So if it was Public Works and then she became head of, as acting mayor, yes, that to me that might be rather intimidating. But if we did an and or, so it could be the most experienced person on council, or next up would be Public Works or Budget and Finance. If we did something like that.
I mean, personally, I feel like we just need to pick one or the other. I think when it gets into things where there's a lot of discretion like that, that's where it gets complicated and where the lawyers start arguing.
Well, so then I'm going to say most experienced, and I'll go with that.
So what if you did it this way? What if you said, by order of these committees, provided that in order for the person to assume the duties of mayor, they have to have X minimum experience. And if you don't have that, it goes to the next person. If they don't have it, it goes to the next person.
Yeah.
Okay. And would we say like 2 years? Because we always have someone on council who's been on for at least 2 years, right? Because of our staggered terms.
Well, we should. I mean, there are possibilities that you could have an all
if everybody resigns on one day.
Yeah, I mean, I have seen that. I haven't seen it happen. I have heard of it happening. It happened not too long before I started in Joplin. They had one day where 5 of the 9 council members all resigned. They passed the budget, resigned before the end of the meeting, and walked out the door. And they couldn't even have a meeting for months.
Okay. So, well, I would be fine with doing order of committees, provided, however, that such person must have at least 2 years of experience. However, if no person has 2 years of experience, then we go just by the order of the committees.
By the next experienced council member, right? That's what you're thinking?
I mean,
there's
no one
no,
has 2 years experience, then probably everybody was elected on the same day. So I don't know that it, like,
I don't
I
think
think
that's going to be a problem.
I think I would say, minimum 2 years experience in order of these committees. If no one has 2 years experience, then just in order of the committees. So does that, Mr. Head, I'm sure you can put together legalese that makes that clear, right?
Does that help us with getting the most experienced person?
I think so. It guarantees that that person has had at least a couple of years on council and has had time in a leadership position. So, running meetings and working directly with staff on agendas and that kind of thing. Do you feel like, Councilmember Hodges, that would kind of satisfy some of your concerns?
I'd be okay with that. Yeah.
Okay. Do we have a preference on what order the committees would go in?
Well, what committee has the most,
I mean, I feel like Public Works or Finance and Budget would be the most relevant.
I would say.
I'd agree.
Yeah, I would say.
Okay.
And I will say, having done a significant disaster, one or the other of those is going to be the most critical. And I really would say, in the types of disasters we typically have here, Public Works is probably number one, because the first thing that you've got to roll out is whatever machinery you have to remove debris or snow or sandbag or whatever it is you need. Finance then is number two, because you've got to worry about how much money you're spending and are you doing it correctly so that you can get reimbursed from FEMA and all that. So I would say those two are the top two, and it could go either way on those as far as my perspective.
Well, how about Public Works 1, Finance and Budget 2, CEDC 3, and then do you care if, hopefully we never get into this situation, but do you guys care if rules or legislative is after that?
I mean, hope to God we don't ever have to go down that road.
Well, then let's say legislative 4, because we're going to need to talk to other municipalities to get us mutual aid, and then rules 5, because we're not going to be worrying about changing the rules at that point. So,
well, and we will be operating probably under some emergency rules if it gets to that point.
Yeah. So does that work for everybody?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate us working together to come to a consensus, because I know it's a little bit of a sticky subject. Hopefully never ever becomes an issue. But I think this is good protection for the city, just in case. It's Murphy's Law. If we don't do this, that something terrible will happen. So,
well, if you think about what just happened with losing Councilmember DeMoro, and we really weren't prepared. So we weren't completely prepared to do that. And so, yeah, I love having processes and procedures in place. So when stuff happens, because stuff happens, boom, you know what to do.
And then, Mr. Head, I am sure that we will never enter this situation, but can you put language in there that if none of the chairs are available, then it would go through the vice chairs in the same order?
Oh, yes.
So again, I think at that point you probably wouldn't even have quorum on the council. So I don't know what to say about that, but I think it's just good to be prepared, right? So.
And going through the vice chair should catch everyone, because everybody has pretty much either has a chair appointment or a vice chair appointment. Am I wrong about that?
I don't have one.
You don't have one.
And I think it's not set by statute that we do, but anyway, Councilmember Rader, we love you. You would be a great acting mayor.
Oh, thank you.
All right.
It'd be so fun.
Okay, so I feel like we're at consensus on that. Mr. Head, you can work on that language. And then do you guys want to bring that back to us or just send it back to council, since we've already vetted it 4 times?
Let me bring it back. I mean, this language you're going to want to tweak. I just have a feeling what I write, y'all are going to want to tweak.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so unless we have any further discussion, then we will move on to roundtable. Do we have any roundtable items? I would say, I think Councilmember Rader, you brought up a good point about us all being caught a little bit flat-footed with our council vacancy. And Mr. Head, I think we talked a little bit about maybe putting some kind of a resolution in place going forward for just setting up a process in the event that something like that happens again. So is that something we could have on a future agenda to talk about?
Sure. I think we could probably take the process that we've developed now and turn it more into a formal.
And generalize it. Yeah.
There'll probably still be some details that we'll want to leave a little up in the air for different councils to do differently, but I think we can definitely create, and we had done this back several years ago. We created something and then we never did follow through with it, and I don't recall why.
Well, how about if we plan to bring that back sometime after March or April, because we can see how this appointment process goes and how we feel about how it worked, and then we can come up with best practices after that. Does that sound acceptable?
I think that sounds great.
Okay.
We'll run it through. We'll run it through a trial run and see how it works. It's fabulous. We'll set in stone. But any council can always have flexibility, of course, but we're saying here's the guidelines for, what we did, and it worked well. Yeah.
Nothing that one can do that the other cannot do, but it's good to have something to work from.
Exactly.
Okay. Do we have any other roundtable from the committee? Any roundtable from staff?
Just that our next meeting would be February 20th.
Okay. Is that right after MML? When is that?
Yeah, it would
February 20th. Let's see. Oh, it might be.
It would be. It will be.
I think everybody will be back by then, but does that work for you guys, or do you want a little time off if we've all just been in Jeff City for 2 days?
It doesn't matter to me. I'm good. Whatever, Councilmember Hodges.
I'm okay either way. This is being Zoom. It's a lot simpler to just pop on.
Okay, well let's keep that on calendar then.
Great.
All right. I appreciate your all's time. I feel like this committee has been busier than ever this year. So it's good work, and I appreciate you guys.
Good. Thank you.
For what you do.
Appreciate your work too, Chair. You do.
And Mr. Head,
you do a
thank
great
you.
job.
Yes,
What's that?
thank you, Brian. I know we're keeping you hopping.
No problem.
All right. I will adjourn this meeting at 12:06.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, guys.